Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode of the fourth wonderful season of the Sons of History podcast. We are going to have a dynamic conversation that, I hope you take a lot of notes for this one. What do you think, Alan?
I think we're going to be having a discussion where you won't have time to take notes. I'm going to recommend you record this, or, when you watch it on YouTube or Epoch TV, just do a rewind, because
I don't think.
you're going to want to learn. You're going to want to learn this.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to have to record it because that's what we're doing. We're recording the conversation. So we're going to be talking about this Scotus session, the Supreme Court of the United States session that they had this year. A lot of landmark decisions. And we're going to be discussing that with Joe Wolverton, a friend of ours, constitutional scholar, legal scholar. Along with that, we're also going to be talking about, should these cases even be brought forward to the Supreme Court? Because we've gotten to the point where we are legislating through the court system, which is so dangerous because people are not making these decisions. You take out the democratic republic process, where it's we the people through our senators and representatives on the state level and on the federal level to make our decisions. But no, we're coming up against either corporations and an individual, or two individuals, or two corporations. It's not a good place to be in. But we're going to be talking about that. But before that, we're going to do This Week in History. You ready, Alan?
I'm ready to go.
All right, the last will be first and the first will be last, so I will be first, and later in life, I will be last. My This Week in History is September 27th, 1964. This is when the Warren Commission issued its report. Its 10-month thorough, very, very thorough investigation of the JFK assassination that had taken place on November 22nd, 1963. And the Warren Commission really left no holes. It pretty much wrapped that investigation up. No questions lingered. It was a lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, taken care of by a good friend of Mr. Dulles, Jack Ruby. You talk about some just insane stuff that came out after that commission report. That's the Warren Commission, the group of men that were put on that commission, and what came out of that report is probably singularly why we still have so many questions. And just the burning of evidence, just a ton of stuff. I'm watching Oliver Stone's latest documentary. You can check that out, which I will actually use that as my movie recommendation at the end. But the Warren Commission report is just further proof that you can always trust the results of the government.
All right. Now, for me, you familiar with that?
Domesday. Yeah, I think we've discussed that before.
Okay. Well, leading up to that, what my This Week in Review, or rather This Week in History, is going to take place on September the 27th through the 28th of 1066. What was that, you say? Well, very simple. It was the Norman invasion of England. And what happened was, earlier that year, around January the 5th, King Edward, the Confessor of England, dies without an heir. Now, contemporary sources stated that he had promised both William, Duke of Normandy, and Harold Godwinson, the Earl of Sussex, as his successor. So they both, were claiming the throne. Harold took it, but he was immediately challenged by his brother Tostig and King Harald Hardrada of Norway. There was a battle at Stamford Bridge where Harold defeated Harald Hardrada and his brother Tostig. They were both killed in the battle, and that was on September the 25th. So, okay, great. Now, down on the English Channel, William, the Duke of Normandy, was trying to cross the English Channel. Finally, on the 27th, he got the favorable winds. Now, he had received the blessings from the aristocracy of Normandy as well as Pope Alexander II. So, 27th, favorable winds. They cross the English Channel. They land on England, on English soil, near the town of Pevensey. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's near Eastbourne. So they landed there on the 28th of September with about 7,000 men, maybe more, 8,000. There are no exact sources to state how many there were. And they marched towards Hastings. Now, after the Battle of Stamford Bridge, Harold Godwinson was marching south. He caught wind of the invasion. They don't know when. But he had 7,000 men with him, and he had to march about 240 miles south to get to William and his men. So they finally, well, you know what? No, I'm going to stop there. And here's why. Because I know that this session has gone a little bit long, but if you want to, and we'll finish the story because, there's more to this story. It's very important, because the British royal family of today can trace their ancestry back to William the Conqueror. It's not a straight line. You've got a little zigzags here and there, especially when you had like the Wars of the Roses and the Tudors and all that. But if you want to read a little bit more about it, visit the Bayeux Tapestry in Bayeux, France, and you'll know a little bit about how it ends. So, but that'll be for another This Week in History.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I know that you meant to say Earl of Wessex.
What did I say?
Sussex.
Did I say Sussex? I meant to say, my bad. Earl of Wessex.
Earl of Wessex, Harold Godwinson. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's This Week in History. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, our guest is Joe Wolverton. He is, in fact, one of our favorite guests. We've had him, I believe, on the show more than any other guest that we've had. He's a constitutional scholar and lawyer. He's a regular contributor to the New American Magazine. He is also the author of 3 works, The Real James Madison, What Degree of Madness? Madison's Method to Make America States Again, and The Founder's Recipe. Lastly, and so I know we will discuss this, Alan, but he's the founder of Amargi Group, which offers, quote, a comprehensive history curriculum that replaces mindless memorization of trivial facts with inspirational stories and engaging and illuminating lessons. Their principle-based courses teach students to use history as a lens through which they see a clearer image of their own time. Speaking of Amargi Group and those courses, Alan, you took one of those courses, didn't you?
Yes, I took the U.S. Constitution course. Really enjoyed it. I did not know what to expect, but yeah, there was no memorization. He introduced us. He has this book, which I have a couple of his books. This one's called The Founder's Recipe, and it has 37 different people in here that he quotes. That really the founding fathers. You need to know where the founding fathers got their information from. This is a great book to see some of the quotes from the men that the founding fathers, where they got their information from, because they did not just show up and say, hey, let's have a democracy. They knew that it didn't work, and they had history on their side on that one. So his class, he introduced us to a lot of primary sources, a lot of authors, and I bought a couple of them for myself just to read them. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of discussions. It made you think, a lot of critical thinking, not critical theory, but critical thinking, and I highly recommend his classes very much.